Hi, guys and gals. Today we are going to be learning how to prepare a document, do some lines on a paper, and kind of get an idea of what technical drawing is. So let's go ahead and scoot our camera down so you can see. So the very first step is always taping your paper, okay? And I'm going to do our list down this thing. So we're going to tape our paper down, but in order to do that, and what's important is we've got what's called our T-square. Okay, our T-square, if we look all the way over on this edge, it slides up and down the edge of our drawing board. Okay, it always stays here, and what I like to do is I like to put my thumb on this part of it and push this direction, and then you can use the other part of your hand to slide this up and down. The reason this is important is this is now always going to be your horizontal line, okay? So it's hard to see because mine's clear, but this is always going to be your horizontal line. So we want to make sure that our paper lines up with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot my T-square all the way down, and I'm going to scoot this down until this piece of paper just rests on top of my T-square. Now it doesn't look in the screen that it's even, and that's just because the angle of my camera is off. But this is now perfectly lined up and perfectly straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand on here and I'm going to get some tape, okay? And what I want to do is I want to tape all four corners. So I'm just going to check this again. I'm pushing this way on my T-square. I'm pushing this direction to hold it, and then I'm kind of just dragging this down just to make sure it sits. And I'm going to put it on just the little tip of the corner up here, and I'm going to put it on the tip of the corner up here just so it's not actually touching the corner. I mean, not off the corner. And then I'm going to do the same thing on all these. Now, what's important is you really get this sticking down flat, otherwise it'll grab the tools when you're moving around on it, okay? And then I'll stick this just on the edge, just that little tip of the corner. And what you can do, and it's hard to see this, but I'm pushing down on the outside and it's lifting up my, lifting this up so it slides and doesn't touch this. But I can check it at the top and make sure that it fits right. And I can check it at the bottom and check. That's pretty good, okay? Now, in order to create a line, okay, and for you geometry folk, I'm actually creating what is called a line segment, okay? The difference between a line and a line segment: a line segment has 2 points. A line is just a continuous object that goes through 2 points. So a line segment stops from one point to the other. The line just goes all the way through, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pick somewhere in the upper area up here. And what we're going to do is we're going to practice two different kinds of lines. We're going to try, or we're going to draw what's called a construction line, and then we're going to do what's called an object line, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and see how I'm holding it here. I'm not holding it up at the tip. What I'm doing is I'm holding it here and I'm holding it really relaxed, and I just want to barely drag it across the paper. So what's important about this is, and you can see I'm turning the pencil as I'm moving it to make sure that tip stays the same size. Now I haven't sharpened this, which I should have, but I'm going to go ahead and drag it nice and light across this paper, okay? Nice and light. This is, if you can see this, that's too dark. I'm going to do it again. You can see I went over it twice, which kind of made it darker. I'm going to do it one more time here so you can see that is how dark it needs to be. You can't even see it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, and you can barely see this line right here. And what's important is I used my T-square, And that means that both of these lines are exactly parallel from each other. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take, wherever I put it, I thought it was right here. Here we go. I have this little ruler that's a little easier to see. I'm going to draw a line that is on my construction line that is 3 inches apart. Now, I want it to be a line segment. So I'm going to put 1 dot and 2 dot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this line between those 3 inches. So I'm going to go in, and now if you see now, I'm holding this pencil closer up. Construction line, object line, okay? So I'm going to take, and some people like to put their pencil on the dot and slide the T-square up to it, and then I'm going to draw a line, except I'm going to darken this. I'm going to push real hard and darken it. And you can see that is a very dark line. Okay, this is my object line, and coming up to it on either side is my construction line. Okay, now what's interesting is for a line, if I'm drawing a line on a regular piece of paper, and I'm going to take this little guy, this is my little straight edge here. This is actually a triangle. It is a 30, 60, 90 triangle, 30, 60, 90 triangle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a point and another point, and I can line my straight edge up, and I can draw from point to point. That is my line segment that has 2 points. When I draw with my tools, I only need 1 point. So in order to create that line that goes across to start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a border around this. And I'm going to make a 1/4 inch border. So I'm going to make just one little dot. And I'm going to make it dark, but so you can see it. So you can see that dot. And all I have to do is, you want to make that dot normally really light, but I'm going to make this just like this. I'm going to bring it up to that point. And then I'm going to draw a construction line all the way across. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to measure up 1/4 of an inch from here to here. Okay. And then I'm going to use my T-square. And you've got to make sure that it sits tight on one side, otherwise it'll look like this, and it'll be crooked. So you want it to sit nice and flat. I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. And I'm going to draw a line just like this, all the way across. Okay? All right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my triangle, and I'm going to use my 30, 60, 90 triangle because it has a longer side on one side. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my T-square, I'm going to set my T-square straight, I'm going to slide this down until it hits the bottom down here. This makes a vertical line here and a 60-degree line here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure over here, and I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to put a mark here. So this goes a little bit faster. And I'm going to put a mark over here. And I'm going to use this. Now, a lot of technical drawing is problem solving and sort of common sense. So instead of measuring, drawing, measuring, drawing, I measured twice, and then I can just create my little lines here. And now what I'm going to do is I know this is going to be an object line in the end. So I drew a light line, and then I'm going to darken it in later. I'm just going to go ahead and darken from here to here, and I'm going to darken on this side. It's a good practice to draw your lines with a construction line. That way, if you screw them up, the whole reason of a construction line is so you can erase it. You can't erase an object line. That's permanent. So if you mess up an object line, you either have to start over or you have to deal with what has been given to you and move on, try and fix it or whatever. But it's very easy to fix construction lines. It is not as easy to fix object lines. And I'm not doing a good job of twisting my pencil. Okay, now I've got a line here. I've got an object line here that's 3 inches. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish this into a rectangle. And sometimes it gets this little goop. You can see like it gets here. These need to be cleaned often because they pick up the glue from these things, and sometimes they'll spread it across your paper and make it look crappy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a vertical line. Oops, let me get that flat. Let me get this flat. I'm going to create a vertical construction line because I don't know how high this is going to go. And it takes a long time to get good at pushing this direction first and then pulling down on your triangle. It takes a long time to get used to that, to get things so they're not crooked. Then I'm going to measure down. Let's make this 2 inches. So we'll do 2 inches. And if it's not perfectly in the center, that's okay. We're just kind of practicing and getting to know how this works. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this actually an object line, because I know that it's going to go across like this, saving myself a little bit of time. But what is really, 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 really important, and I can't stress this enough, is neatness and accuracy. Neat and accurate. Okay? Neat and accurate. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a construction line up in this corner. So we're going to do our name. So I'm going to do a little construction line here like this. And I'm just doing a few of them. It's best if you do this 1/4 of an inch tall, but I'm doing this kind of quickly just because I don't want this video to last, forever. So I'm going to put, and I want to make sure that you know this, and I'm going to put this here really fast. All caps. Whenever you write anything, you're going to write in all caps. So I'm going to put Aragi, comma, Mr. That's my name. And then you can leave a space, you can skip a space, but let's see, let's do, let's call this, I'm going to say period. One, so that way I know where you are. And then the last thing I'm going to do is the date. So what is this, August 23, and see how that looks kind of jammed up. I left a space here, but this is too big, so you maybe want a little bit of smaller space. And then oops, I put the comma in the wrong spot because I was talking. 20, 21. And go nice and slow and make it look nice. Don't make it look sloppy. But you can see already that other construction line that I made was too dark. It crossed out this and it doesn't look very good. Okay? All right, the last thing we're going to do is on your own down at the bottom, I want you to try and create a triangle with our little, where did I put it? Here we go. With our 60-degree object, okay? So it doesn't really matter, just somewhere in the center. And if you want to measure, that'd be even better. I didn't want to give you too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start from this dot that I just made, and I'm going to drag this forward. I'm going to pull this down, and I'm going to create a construction line down this way, a construction line down this way, and then I'm going to use my, and I'm just estimating, I'm not actually measuring, but this is pretty awesome. So now if I draw a object line from this dot to here, this is an exact parallelogram. I mean, I said parallelogram. Equilateral triangle. Go, Mr. Ruggie. Parallelogram. an equilateral triangle. 60 degrees, 60 degrees, and 60 degrees. So if you do this wrong and you put your object this way, it's going to be an isosceles triangle because it's going to be 30 degrees, or not 30, it's going to be 60, 90, 120, and then 30, 30, 30, 30, 120. So that's what we have, okay? That's all we're going to do for this little assignment. The last thing I want you to do is over here on the right side, I want you to write a list of tools that we use today. And I'll give you a hint. So I'm going to do this a little bit better this time. I'm going to give myself a little gap. And obviously I'm not measuring this because I don't want to take too much time in the video. The more you measure, the better off you are in the future. But we'll start with our most important tool, which is I started to write an R. Pencil. So then what I forgot to put up here, right here, is tools. Okay, tools. And if you want to put a little tick mark or a dot, or if you want to number it, that, you know, whatever. 2, 3, 4, whatever. So pencil. If you want to put eraser, you can put eraser. 30, 60, 90 triangle, T-square, drawing board. Okay, paper, tape, but those aren't really tools. Alrighty, sounds good.